Hey everybody. Okay, so I'm doing another one of these AM videos. Normally I would drive into work today. Today is a work from work day, but I don't. I have to do like a 5 block walk, and I still feel like I feel pretty good, but I still feel like that walk would get me would probably do me in. I would probably be very sick or not feel very well after that. And I will say that I normally run 3 miles every single day. I would definitely suggest that, since almost everyone that watches these videos is very young, I would suggest you pick up that habit because there are a lot of gray hairs running around my neighborhood, and some of them are vegetarians, some of them are martial artists. There are all kinds of different things, and some of them are in great shape and some of them are in bad shape. And the one thing that all the people that are in great shape have in common is they all run. So the last couple of days, since I haven't been feeling well, I haven't been running, which then gives my body extra energy, since it's used to create enough energy for me to go to run to fight off whatever I have right now. A couple people sounded kind of sick on the call yesterday for work, and one person did call in sick. So there's definitely something that we're dealing with right now, and it hasn't been too bad. But anyway, so yesterday, so then that's another crazy thing is we did have the main reason I worked yesterday is because we are having these handoffs. So we're going to pick up a very complex piece of software. And one of the subjects of the handoff was validation. And there was a couple things in that validation uh, that I understood only because of this work I've been doing on this. And the first thing was that they have, and it will be we here shortly. They have it set up to where when you hit submit to submit something, anything that's dirty turns like yellow, and dirty means it has been modified. And they were like, we don't understand why everything turns yellow anytime you change it. Everything turns yellow. And I was thinking to myself, oh, I know why. It's because Angular won't run the validation. Angular Forms won't run the validation unless it's marked as dirty, and they need everything to get validated. And then, so then you need some complex scheme to check to see, okay, is it actually changed and is it not invalid? And if it is actually changed and not invalid, then mark it as undirty and all that. And nobody understood it. I'm pretty sure the person who originally coded it, somebody at some point got a bug saying, "Hey, this validation isn't running." They're like, "Oh, I can just mark everything as dirty. I can mark it as dirty, and it'll run the validator, and all the validation works." And then they just chose to ignore the fact that everything got marked as yellow or as dirty after that. So that was one thing. And then the other thing is there were a lot of layers of abstraction in the validation scheme that we're inheriting, and I knew exactly where to look for everything. So I definitely have graduated up on my skills over these last 10, 12 videos. I did lose apparently 5 subscribers. I found a place, and I don't think I have access to it on Google anymore. I don't know why I was able to access it before, but I lost 5 subscribers during that time period and gained 3. So I do not think that this validation thing was good for my subscriber list. But then yesterday I gained 4 subscribers. So that's pretty cool. I'm very, very close to 200 subscribers now. So that's really neat. I always said that when I get to 500 subscribers, I will push this code out to some website so that people can play around with it, and hopefully by that point I have the ability to export and import things. So when people do create something, they can modify it and then come back. So where are we? We are at 4 minutes, so that's not too bad. So yesterday I created this function. I said I was going to work on something else today, but yesterday I created this ensure validation type function. And my belief, and I cannot figure out how to validate it. There's like in physics, there's this sort of concept where it's like when you observe something, you change it. I don't think it's just in physics too. It's also in psychology as well. As that very act of observing something changes it. And I don't know how to validate this thing that I'm saying, but I am 99% sure. I feel utterly confident that this will not have this calling this ensure validation type just to make sure that this type is of the correct type. So basically, the only reason this exists is so that the compiler will catch it if I were to change the name here. So if I made this to invalid positive floats, so basically all of this whole thing is just for that, so that I would be able to easily find anything. And so then the idea is like right now there's only two types of floats. So the invalidation type, the other type is none, but there will be like a invalid float in the future. And so, but see, none is fine but none's is not fine because none is a legal validation type. So like, so if I go and look at my validation types, there's two legal validation types: invalid positive float and none. So basically, that was literally code that I only wrote for compilation. So I'm gonna hit Alt and back arrow, and that takes me back here to do that. And I do not believe this will have any performance in the end in a production build. And I believe that this code would be um, um, what it would when the transpiler it would actually remove this line of code. It would, I believe, the Angular transpiler would recognize that this is doing nothing and actually um, I don't know why I want to say obscure way, but it would actually make that code go away. And it wouldn't do anything. And even if that code went through, even if it went through, I also believe that the um, browsers itself would recognize after one run, it would only run through this one time. It would recognize that this is not going to change, and it would get rid of that line of code and set that value. So worst case scenario, this code runs one time on one async call, and that's it. I do not believe there's any performance impact by this code. And I have never, ever, I have been hit on things like this on PRs. Like I'll write this kind of code. I know I'm going to get hit. I'll try to explain it. I've never been able to effectively explain that to other PR people. Sometimes I can bully my way and they'll accept it. The PR people, if I am more senior than them, like in some cases, the only you just need two people to sign off, and they're both, and two of them are the two people that sort of pipe in, because typically if you make a comment in a PR and then somebody addresses your comment, you really should accept their PR. There are some people that will make all kinds of comments all day long, and they'll just be a pain in your butt, and they'll just make your life miserable, and then they'll never approve anything. All they do is they're just, I don't know, they're just not good people. They're not productive people. They are natural people who just kind of get in the way of productivity. So there are a few people like that, but most people aren't like that. Most people will give you a if you've addressed their comments. So sometimes people will make a comment like on something like that, and then they'll accept it even though they don't necessarily believe it. So anyways, but this is my project, and I do not believe that this will have any hit on performance, so I'm leaving it here, and it will help me in the future as I go to this concept will help me in the future as I go to do stuff. So that's that. And last but not least, so where are we? We are at 8:53, so I'm still good. I'm gonna go. The next step was I wanted to make it to where when I hit this and I type in this text here comes from a component, and the component is only it knows how to do is draw out the right text, print out the right text for the given validation type. That's all it knows how to do. It doesn't know how to determine if the validation type is supposed to be there or not. I do want to keep that in the form itself. I don't want to I don't want this thing to be trying to figure out if it's supposed to be showing or not the component itself, and the reason I don't want that is because it really has no way of knowing that information without being told from above, and the thing above it might need to do other things And I don't, so I would rather just leave that logic up there. I don't want to move that logic down here, because if the thing above, if I move all that logic down into a component, and the form above it needs to do stuff, it would have no good way of knowing, except for having duplicate code. So that's what I'm going to do. And the very first step of creating a new component in my world is to go to control, type in control P and type in the word package, go to my package.json and generate that. So val error. So that's going to be the name of this component. It's going to be ng, that's correct. G for generate. Instead of an interface, I want to create a component. So that's C. And I think I have a common components, right? Toolbox, scene manager, common components. So right now I have a color picker and a table filter in my common components. So this is going to be inside of, okay, so based on the other one, I can tell that it can start here. So I need it. It needs to be inside a toolbox. And then within toolbox, it needs to be in common components. And then inside of that, I'm going to name this validation error MSG. So I believe it's going to create a validation error MSG folder in here with a basic component. So when I do this, I like to look at this, imagine in my head what I expect to see. So I expect to see a new folder happen in here, then come in here into a into one of these terminals and type in npm run val error. So just take a second, think through this, common components, validation. Now this is nice to do when you don't have anything, because, and so this by default, since I'm in Angular 18, this might be different for you. It's going to create a standalone component, so it's not going to be updating any modules or anything like that. It's just going to create the component in there, and it's on me to figure out where it goes, basically to do that architecture. So let's run this thing. Let's imagine it showing up in there. Hit the button. This always takes a little longer than I would expect it to take, but and there it is, validation error message. I think it all looks good. Now let's go. Sometimes it names things in ways that I don't expect it. I mean, it always names it the correct way, but sometimes I've got a bad expectation. So I like the name validation error message component and app validation error message. I like that too. So I don't know why I decided message should be shortened to MSG, but not validation shouldn't be shorted to VAL. An error shouldn't be shorted to ERR. I think that's just a personal kind of thing. I don't have any good reason for doing that. But this is where we're at. We are now at 13 minutes, which is a good time. And I will let you all go. Bye. Happy coding.